Howdy Lockslings, it's the holiday season, and here in the scone chip football jam country of Britain, we have a bit of a holiday tradition. You see, in Britain, there's this company that's full of fashion, furniture and literally everythingy, called the John Lewis Partnership, most commonly referred to as John Lewis. It was founded by, surprise surprise, John Lewis, and ever since 2007 they have made an annual Christmas advert. And this year they made one about a Venus flytrap, and whilst some people were whining or whinging about the lack of a father or grandfather, I noticed a much more minute detail. This is a bad ad. No, this can't be right. John Lewis is incapable of making bad ads. Let's check the 2022 advert. In 2022 they made an advert with Who Cares, Scotland, and I feel rather conflicted on it. Okay, we're going nowhere. Let's go backwards instead. About 4 billion years ago, the Earth was formed, but there was a massive problem. It was uncomfortable to sit on, so a man named John Lewis made some sofas and to skyrocket sales screened a seasonal ad in 2007. The advert had many of the elements of a modern John Lewis advert, but also forgoes many of the nowadays most important elements. For example, it has a good whimsical score with creative camera work, however it has nothing in the shape of a plot, no relation to Christmas and no theme or moral. I'd still rate it a solid 6. Then we wait till 2008, when another one rolled around. This had a much more experimental approach. The colours were still mainly muted, but some are brighter to draw your eye to them. The ad shows a slight theme or message of displaying people and then showing gifts that match their personality, and at the end proclaiming, if you know the person, you'll find the present. I like this. It isn't the most John Lewis-y advert, but I would still rate it an 8. Great. Third time, 2009. This one shows more of people actively interacting with gifts, which is definitely a good call. It also makes use of more adventurous set pieces, although they are still rather generic. At least there are different set pieces this time. But as it is mostly a repeat of 2008, I will have to dock half a point. 7.5. Okay, 2010, the beginning of the end. Still a similar premise, but I think it has the best execution. It shows the relationship between presents giver and receiver, and it gives warm, fuzzy feelings. I really want to give it a 9, but 8 again. 2011. Any John Lewis connoisseur will recognise this year as the most big for them so far. It probably has one of their best adverts ever, and I highly recommend it. It is the first one to include a story with continuity and one main character that we can grow attached to. It spends most of the ad setting up this concept that this boy can't wait until Christmas, with unique and captivating scenes, yet then at the end there's a twist. You see, the boy was actually really excited to give his parents a present. Haha, I fooled you! So yes, at the end the boy gives his parents an all-new mint-condition John Lewis sofa. 11 out of 10. 2012. I must say, it makes a much better use of colour and visuals in general. The plot of this one is a snowman gets separated from his snow wife and tries to make his way back. It has lots of British background humour, but I just think the concept is rather cliché, so I'll give it an 8 for its traits. 2013. Wow, they made an entire 2D animated short. The animation is reminiscent of movies such as Watership Down, although the story is very different. And also, that's not how hibernation works, so the main plot point of the story is a plot hole. Other than that, this ad is the John Lewis advert, and it's one that the British still talk about to this day because they don't want to talk about football anymore, whereas nobody really talks about any of the other John Lewis adverts that much. So, that is why I say this ad is rather overrated. It's impressive, especially the animation, but I find it feels like it's desperately trying to be sad but also deliver a happy ending. It's a fine balance, and by no means easy, but I just don't enjoy all of the setup for something that instantly resolves. But I'll still give it an 8 for all of its effort. 8.1 actually. 2014. From the most memorable to the most forgettable, unless you really care about Pingu. There's a boy and a penguin and they do things for the first quarter. This is a rather long ad. The entire middle is driving into your head that the penguin wants a mate, but then Act 3 gives us a pretty humorous ending. 7.4. Oh, laugh, laugh, what is next? 2015. Okay, I'm biased of this one because of nostalgia, but I must say, very good. The score in particular sounds so soft and slow. I ask myself why I like ads like this and 2011 when they drive in the same point, but dislike ads like 2014 with a burning passion. And I think the answer has to simply be it comes down to how captivating they are. These can be done by ensuring the ideas are unique, presented in unique ways, and build an overarching character or story arc. Instead of just doing the same thing over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again. There has to be change and adaptation, and that's what makes something well-paced. Okay, this one's story detailed a man who's been trapped on the moon, bringing some of the first elements of fiction. Yes, the living snowmen were fictional, but this is when it really started to pick up. Why we relate to situations from fictional films more than truthful tellings is likely in this situation, as it builds more of a sense of childlike curiosity and wonder, which means you get more engrossed in the story and view it as if you were one of the characters. 11.1. Haha. What's next? I can't count. 2016. What a... yeah. I feel this ad's trying to do too much, and then achieves none of it. The plot is a family of foxes on a trampoline, but a boxer wants in. So, in the morning, he goes to the trampoline, and I think the short serves as a cautionary tale that too much whimsy and wonder can be a bad thing. As if you focus on it more than actually fleshing out your character or story, your viewers will fail to relate to it, and therefore like it less. Remember that, as it will be important later. The fact that the hero's a boxer doesn't help either. 5. 2017. I like this one. It's long and not much happens in the second half, but I like that. The much more relaxed pace perfectly suits the magical nature, as skimming through this magical world fast does nothing but confuse and disinterest viewers. Remember that, as it will be important later. The story also doesn't talk down to its viewers. This is true with a lot of the previous ones, like 2015 or 2011, but it implies several things in the story, but never shows them, allowing the reader to fill in the blanks. And because humans are often narcissistic, when evaluating the story that they partially wrote, they'll always be more partial to it. It's important to know that this can be overdone, however. Remember 9. Okay, 2018. This one definitely falls under that previously mentioned flaw of presenting many scenes that drill in the same point in the same way, and it feels like it has nothing to do with John Lewis. Not many of the others did, but this one doesn't have that signature style of the ad, as it spends so long on the build-up to the actually rather good ending, but nobody cares by then, as it's an advert. You hook them in the first few seconds, or you may as well not hook them at all. Solid 6. 19 next. This one is conflicting. Whilst the setting is separating and the message mangled, it does do a decent deal of incorporating the previously mentioned details of distant characters and situations, drawing in the demographic. 7, I guess. My biggest problem is it's too cliched. Remember that? 2020. For some reason I have no recollection of this ad. I don't know why, as it's great, transitioning through filming styles to metaphorically represent cultural barriers and push its message of small acts of kindness being shared with everybody, which... what does this have to do with sofas? Not much to say here, other than very good. 10. 2021. Very mediocre. 5. 2022. Wait. Rewind. Why was 2021 so wishy-washy and make me feel so wonderfully wary? Well, 2021. I think it would have been much better if they made an ad about lockdown and bringing people closer together or something like that. Anyway, that isn't an actual flaw with the actual ad. Instead, the actual ad focuses on an alien romance. So, it's not a flaw. But this is. The ad focuses on a schoolboy's romance with an alien that could be any age, just mentioning, and I feel like the story is confused on what it wants to be. It doesn't seem to balance the awkward romance story with the family or anything that makes us care for either of the characters. Remember Moz with the flickering of the boy's friendship and how it affected his day-to-day life? Why couldn't you just do that, you silly little alien, thinking you're so much better than Moz, you stupid story? 5 points. 2022. Hey, that was last year. Don't lie to yourself, Max, you won't get this out by the end of December. Okay, so I'd say this is one of the best ones, but not one of the best adverts. It features this adult skateboarder and the progression of his hobby. I'd give it a 10, but it doesn't feel much like an advert. Just a story. A great one that gets you really connected to the characters and doesn't talk down to its audience, which further engages them, but it doesn't feel like an advert. So now we are left with this graph, and we are able to examine how the trends and analyse the 2023 advert in part 2.